Hi there and welcome back to the GeoDebugger tutorial. In this episode we want to build the library and integrate it in our own application. So first things first, we have to adjust our library to make sure that we build the correct version. If we go to the GitHub repository, there's a documentation that says that we always end our version .0 for 4.5.2 and .1 for 4.7.2. I'm pretty sure that there are other ways to create a multi-version NuGet package, but currently we are going this way. So what we need to do is we need to open the folder and go to our geodebugger.net. This is a subfolder of the whole project. If we take a look at the website, so at the structure in GitHub, this is this subdirectory. And here we open our Visual Studio and we have three files that we have to adjust. On the one hand, we have to adjust our app.config to set the correct SDK version. We have to open our CS project to adjust our correct SDK version here, target framework version. And we have to adjust our NuGet package so that we can build two different NuGet packages. As you can see, here we have 4.7.2, 4.7.2. So our correct version for the NuGet should be 3.0.1. We can save it. Then we can open our bash. So I'm always using the git bash to build that thing. And we need three commands for that. Number one is .NET clean. Number two is .NET build. And number three is NuGet pack. So now it's successfully built. If we go to the folder, we will have a version here. It's this one. And the time, that works. This one was just built. So I would need to copy it to my local NuGet folder. I've created a NuGet local folder. And here I can just drop the file. And here we go. So now let's integrate that thing into our application. I have a small ISO.xml reader. This is a tool that basically loads ISO.xml files. If you don't know what ISO.xml is, you're maybe not familiar with agricultural IT. ISO.xml files are documents that come from a machine terminal and that can be used to document machine data like driving speed, fuel consumption, the moisture of the crop, or how many seeds were seeded per area, stuff like that. So what I've done here is I go through a lot of task sets and load them, and then I create CSV files as well as KML files. And additionally to that, I now want to debug that to our server. So first I have to install our package. Go to the NuGet package manager. You go to browse, can select your local, NuGet local. If you don't know how this is set up, you can go to settings, package sources, and here you can add a local package source. So I select this one and it is already installed. If it's not installed, you just select the last stable or the version that fits to your framework and install it. So now that we've done this, I can go into my debug. This one runs through all tasks within the task list, and this will run through all time logs. A time log, you can think about that like from one pause to the next pause. So if I work for 5 minutes and I have a time log of 5 minutes, then I have 5 minutes of pause, then work another 5 minutes, that's the next time log. I go to the TLG debug, and this one's quite empty. So one thing that you need to do is you have to set the URL so that our library knows how to reach the server. But if I remember correctly, I've done this already here. Yes, I've set our server. Just to be sure, I clear all the data. Maybe I have some data left on the server from old software. And then I call debug to send the updated information. So if I go into my TLG, I can go through all my data points for var entry. Yeah. Each entry point has a latitude and a longitude. So we have our pose north, this is our latitude, and we have our pose east, this is our longitude. So what we first want to do is we want to debug each point one by one. So here it's not 4, but it's for each. And if we want to debug each point one by one, we have to say, we have to create a point. You might be asked like, which kind of points, or what, no. You might be asked what to import here to load the data, come on! Blip, 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 blip. So, you might be asked, which using would be required to understand what point is, and we have here geojson.net, and geojson.net.geometry is points, I think. So if I create a point, the point needs a position, and the position needs a latitude and a longitude. We talked about this already, so it's like entry dot pose north. So the calculation here is not specific to our GeoDebugger. This is just because the data in ISO.xml is in WGS 84, but here specifically it's in real high numbers. So we have to divide by, I think, 1 million or something like that to get normal latitudes and longitudes like we know them. So what I need is a feature. And this feature is our point. And we can say geojson debug.add feature. So if we set no layer, it will be layer 0, but we want to work with layer 1 here. And now let's debug that stuff. But maybe debugging every point might be a little lot that might make the application very slow. So let's just add a counter here. That increases every time. And we can say if counter, let's say modulo 10. So after every 10, let's say it's 20. So after every 20th point was generated, we want to debug everything. and we want to wait. For the debugged stuff to reach our front end. Now let's set a conditional breakpoint here, just to say, okay, after a few times that thing was called, we stop the application to see if our information reaches the front end. So let's say like after 3 times. We start our application. Now the application stopped here. And sometimes we have to reload the website. And here we go. We have our first points available. They are down here. So now let's just continue and the application will start to add all our points. I know that this data set currently is just really the machine is standing at one position, and the movement that we are having here is more or less the machine moving forwards and backwards and maybe a little bit of blinking of the GPS positions. In a few seconds you will see that this thing will get way bigger and that we will work through a whole field. So let's just wait for this. And now our machine started real movement. I think the first few points were just set up. This might have been a test data set, so that they had to set up the machine and test something before they really could start working. Normally it's a bit more effective to work on a field. And here you can see they surrounded the field first time, and now can jump through the field multiple times. This is a mowing task, so you drive over a field and mow the grass. Can't see this in the data, it's just I know this. Alright, so this is what it looks like when you are live debugging that thing. If you want to see this in QGIS, you just have to open your QGIS. As you can see, we have our data like the last time. There are 2 things that we have to change. Number 1 is points. And then there was a minor error here. We don't just use HTTP, HTTPS, we use GeoJSON. And then we click on Add and have a whole list of points. And it's been a while since we started that thing, and now we have the full field here. So if I click reload now, it's a bit more. And here we have all our information. And now we can do stuff like measuring distances or things like that. Like this field has a width of 160 meter, a length of 360 meter, and so on and so on. That's all the things you can't do in the normal front end. This front end here is just used for a very fast overview of what's happening in the application. Okay, but as you see, points are really super slow. So I would say let's just stop this here and let's just clean these points. And now there's no data here because all our points are deleted. Let's instead create a line. Now, a line, unfortunately, in GeoJSON works a little bit different. You cannot just create a point and create a line of points. You have to create a line. You have to create a list of double. And of course, you don't create this inside the loop. You create this outside the loop. And inside the loop, you now need a list of double. And let's call this list new list double. We can copy this here, but if I have it correct in mind, we have to switch latitude and longitude. No, we have our point, we add our point to the points, so points dot add. And after everything is done, we debug. This will be way faster. Now let's set a breakpoint here and here, just to see how long this debug takes now. We start the application. And it stops here. And we go on, and it's already here. So if we go on, yeah, so that iterates quite fast. And if we check our website, of course we have to go to lines, and here is our line. That's way faster than the point stuff. So you could also do the same thing with polygons. I won't go into that now, but this is how the GeoDebugger library is integrated into your project. Enjoy, have fun, and in case of any questions, feel free to get back to me.